My head's getting cut off. All right. So now we're live. We're live.
Excellent.
What are you sipping on? What do you got over there?
A little cold water.
Oh man, I got this stuff. I was talking to. I was actually said it on my live yesterday morning. Watch this. So I was ordering this stuff every day. We get 3 minutes. I was ordering this stuff from Starbucks every day. The peach tranquility tea. So I was like, wait a minute. I'm paying $4 a day for this. Like, why am I paying $4 a day? So Jamie, who works with me, I'm like, can you find out where they get that tea from? So she went online. She figured out it comes from Tivana, peach tranquility. So we ordered some, and look what's on the side, the little Starbucks logo.
Oh gosh,
This was $30. There's 15 of them in there. This is $2 a cup. So now I make it myself.
Oh, look at you. Yeah, you're like a barista.
Right. And it's not like about, it's just because it's like general principle. Why should I pay $4 when I can pay $2? I drop a tea bag in some water.
Yeah. No, I like where your head's at.
It's so I'm being repetitive because I did say this yesterday on the live too. I was telling the same story, but so I was telling this to the people that work with me, and I don't look at myself this way, but one of the guys that works for me, so funny. He goes, "That's why the rich get richer." I go, all right. First of all, I don't look at myself as rich, but I will tell you that it's not. It's more about general principle. Like, why should I pay more for something when I don't have to?
Right.
Because I grew up poor, and at the end of the day, that never leaves my head. I still always feel like I have nothing.
That's probably
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Probably a healthy stance. Stay hungry. Stay thirsty.
Stay hungry, baby.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one more quick story while we're waiting. So I'm always focused on my health, right? So yesterday I went for some blood work because I'm getting checked out just to be proactive, and so I'm working with this doctor in Kentucky. He actually has a huge following on YouTube. This guy, he has like 500,000 followers. So I follow him and I watch him. I'm like, oh, let me check this guy out. So I start working with him. Sends me for a prescription for blood work. I hate blood work. I hate the needles in my arms. So I get to Quest, and the guy's like got one of the baskets, and he starts piling the tubes in the basket, and he's like taking all the tubes. I'm like, are those all for me? He's like, oh yeah. I go, how many vials? He's like, 16.
Oh my.
And all of a sudden, I looked at my watch. I had the pulse rate thing. It starts going. So he does this thing. He's 6 vials in. All of a sudden, I'm sweating, and I have nothing to stop the sweat. So this coming down my face. And I said, I don't think this is going well. I think I'm not feeling good. And the guy goes, what do you mean? I go, I think I'm going to throw up, and I think I'm going to pass out. So he's like, okay. I go, can we stop? So, and I wasn't looking at my arm, so I thought there was like an IV thing hanging out of it. So he goes, okay, no problem. He's a really nice guy. He's like, no problem. And okay. So he takes me under the arm. He like puts me on the bed. He's like, lay down. So I lay down. I actually felt better within 5 minutes. So I go, okay, can I just stay here? Can you finish with me laying down? And he goes, sure, no problem. He walks over and puts that band on my other arm and starts. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Can't you just plug it into my left arm? He's like, I took the needle out of your left arm like 5 minutes ago. He's like, it hasn't been in there the whole time. I'm like, oh, you're right. Anyway, I think we got to get going here. We are, let's see. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock. All right, Timmy Goring, how you doing?
All's well. Thanks for having me again, Matt.
Listen, you're having me. We're having this is a joint effort, man. So let's kick this off by. So the topic today is cool, and we have like a list of 150 cool topics. Today, we are doing unlocking your true potential, how to master the art of change. So I will tell you something interesting to kick this off. Somebody that I know who was on my regular show, Digging In, sent me a message this morning, and she's like, "Well, I see this thing, but who's the expert on change?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a really good question." So let's kick off the show like this. I think that I know your story, and I won't speak for you, but you've had a lot of change in your life. And I've had a tremendous amount of change in my life. And I happen to be somebody that leans into change. I'm uncommon because I love change. I love the uncertainty. The more change, the better. But I've had so many different things in my life change that in my world, I'm a little bit of an expert as far as in my own mind. And you're probably an expert in your own mind, but neither of us are experts in change. We're not certified in change, but between the two of us, I think it's safe to say that we have been successful. We've had many failures. We've dealt with tremendous amounts of change. You deal with people on a daily basis who come to you because they're going through change, uncertainty, and want to develop. I deal with people, business owners on a daily basis. Same thing, a lot of change. So I think the two of us are qualified to have at least a really good conversation that'll spark some interest about change. So that's my answer to Jen if she's watching. Neither of us are experts, but in our own minds, I think we're experts.
Well, and I think that you and I are kind of aware, right? Like, which not everybody handles change the same way for
Right.
different reasons. Like I think you and I probably even experience our desire for change for different reasons. Some people like change because they're bored. Some people like change because they're competitive and they got to stay ahead of the pack, right? And some people like change because, well, they're really hurting in their current situation, so they got to get out of it. And I think those are the three biggest catalysts for change. But then there are some people that don't like change at all, and for different reasons also. Like they're either worried about somebody's going to be upset or it's going to disrupt the harmony, or they realize that if we change, I have to relearn some stuff. I'm not going to be the expert
Right.
anymore. Right. So
Yeah, it's
I think
interesting.
it's fun I think if you're awake to the idea that change causes different emotions in different people, that's probably a good place to start.
So Jen is here. She said she's here. I just told her story. Just told your story. I'm typing there. Hold on. Let me just. There's like 7 or 8 things I want us to get to, and I know we try to keep this to a half hour. So let's dig in, right? The first thing is, and I think you just kind of kicked it off just the right way. Like, let's get into recognizing the need for change, right? It's important. Like the first step is recognizing, acknowledging that there is some change that's necessary, and then like from that point you can move forward. But if you're afraid of the change, or you're sort of running away from the change, or you don't want to like accept the change, that's a big problem, because whatever it is that you're experiencing in your life, your personal life, your business, whatever it is that is mirroring back to you that something's not right, something doesn't feel right, and you actually are getting signals that something needs to change. If you don't even recognize that, I mean, that's a problem, right?
I think that is a problem. You want to talk about some truths about change? I got some
Yeah.
truths I collected.
Come on.
I think the easiest one is, like, let's face it, change is inevitable. We can't wish change away. We know the weather's going to change, right? Isn't that like I think it was an Abe Lincoln quote? This too will change, right? Everything is going to change. That's the only thing we can guarantee. And that all change is going to affect different people differently, right? Some are going to resist it. There are going to be angels, agnostics, and atheists, right? Some that are like, yes, I love change. Some that are like, I'm not sure if I love it or not, agnostic. And some that are like, I'm absolutely hardcore against it. But I'll tell you what, if we're going to evolve, then we're going to have to change. And so
That's
I think understanding that if we really want to be good at change, we're going to have to figure out how different people are going to react to it and then control our own reaction. Right? So we have to have that desire to understand why that change is not going smooth. And who's responsible for making it go smooth, do you think?
Well, if you don't have acceptance of the fact that you are responsible for making it go smooth, because you're in control of you.
Yeah. So you got to have a plan, right? And I think that most people just try to wing it. They just start changing, and then they think everybody else is going to get on board. And I don't know. I mean, you got to start
because nobody else is going to change whatever it is. Like if you decide you need to change something, then it's I'm kind of jumping ahead, but it's if you don't decide to take action,
yeah,
and it's all with you. It's all on your shoulders, and that's a very, very heavy thing for a lot of people, which is why a lot of people can't change anything. They maybe they recognize it and maybe they accept it, but they can't take the first step. They're just stuck.
yeah.
What holds them back? A lot of things, a lot of baggage holds them back.
Oh yeah, I collected all the baggage that holds them back. By the way, we can get to that eventually too. But maybe we ought to unpack the idea of what a plan would look like. I don't know.
Jen just said something. Hold on, she goes, "I face it head on," even though she doesn't like it. That's good feedback from somebody who's watching.
I like that. I face it head on. But if you're facing it head on and nobody else knows your plan, will that create different emotions in them, or do you have to somehow communicate that plan?
Oh man, you're skipping way ahead. They have to communicate the plan.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to skip ahead.
No,
I'm just
this is
saying.
great. It's all intertwined. Yeah, think about that. Like, so the communication aspect of it is it's critical. Like, I mean, imagine if you're really trying to change something, and there's people. I mean, it could be something heavy, and your family doesn't know you're trying to change whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're doing things differently. Your habits are changing. You're just your triggers are different. All of a sudden, they're gonna be like, "What the hell is going on?" They're not going to be able to support you because they don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, you got to know what your why is. Why am I
Right.
changing? Right? What's the goal? Where am I now? Why am I changing? What's my goal? How's that going to affect everybody else? What's in it for them? Right?
Ooh, yeah.
Because that's what they're thinking. All right, well, this change is good for Tim and Matt, but wait a minute, how's this going to affect me? And if I don't allow them to go through those emotions of how's this going to affect me, then they're going to, what are those emotions that you go through? Like what are the stages of, it's like when you get diagnosed with cancer, you go through stages like
It's like
denial
denial.
and then resistance. And then, all right, okay, now I've resisted it. This can't be real. I'm in denial. And then I start exploring ideas. Well, like
Now
maybe I
you've
can
accepted it. Now you're
benefit.
trying to solve it.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's where you're going, but that's what came to my mind.
Well, and I think that's kind of the idea. I think before people are going to commit to your idea of change, they've got to go through those emotions, denial, resistance, and then exploring the opportunities. And the sooner you involve them in that process, the better.
There's something that happens that is so when that process actually starts to happen. So if somebody actually has the acceptance and they
Mhm.
decide that they're going to change something, they all of a sudden have other feelings that come up because change is the same, I think, as uncertainty, right? You're changing, but you don't know what is on the other side of that change. You don't know how it's going to feel when you're going through the change. So that
Mhm.
brings uncertainty, which is really uncomfortable. And the ability to sit in that discomfort and remember that the discomfort is actually the growth, it's actually the change is difficult for a lot of people.
Hugely difficult. I think just saying that out loud is important, right? Why is it difficult for them? Are they experiencing a sense of loss? Like, I love the way we were doing it. Or are they
What was that?
confused? Is it ambivalent? Or do they not trust you because they don't know what your intent is? Right?
That
Like
could be.
let's imagine you let some key employees go. Think about how that affects the other employees. They're like, wait a minute.
Who's next?
Yeah, who's next? And I used to get all the answers from Matt. Now Matt's not here. So all of a sudden, productivity just goes like this in the company. Woohoo! Because everybody's sitting around thinking, "Am I next? I need to
Yeah.
get my backup plan lined up," and they're thinking about that instead of doing their work. So you should expect that if you're going to change stuff. Right?
It's interesting because early on, I was on the receiving end. When you're first starting out, you work places and people get laid off, people get let go, and you're like, wow, am I next? Like I can remember how that felt. And somewhere along the line in my career, I remember somebody saying to me, if you just do the right thing, if you're just working as hard as you can, if you're doing your very best, and that's where your energy goes, you don't have to put energy into worrying about, am I going to get fired? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You have no control over that decision, but you do have control over doing your very best at all times. And even if you do your best and you get let go, at least you did your best. It wasn't because you weren't doing your best. Totally
Yeah.
unrelated to change, but it is a very interesting mindset. And I even now with clients that I have, sometimes clients fire you, for whatever reason, they're unhappy or they find somebody that makes them feel different. I don't think about that anymore beyond the fact that I have to keep my head focused on bringing continuing to grow and continuing to develop new relationships and bring in new business because I know that along the way we are going to lose customers. It's just the way it is,
Yeah.
you know.
I like it. It,
But
it
that
almost
change
relates
wasn't easy for me up front. Like when I was really early on in business and I would lose a customer, I would I would go wild like in my head and it freak out like, oh my God, if I lose a few more. And it was really just brilliant. The people that were mentors to me along the way that would keep reminding me, don't focus on those losses. Focus on continuing to win because there's always going to be more wins than losses. And it's true,
yeah, no doubt about it. No
you
doubt
know?
about it. But it's so easy to get caught in that trap. It's so easy to live in the past and then
Right.
have all kinds of regrets and depression of thinking about what could have I done. And it's also easy to live too far in the future. Like, what if I lose all the rest of my clients, like you just said, which causes anxiety. So we got to find that. You ever read that book, The Power of Now?
Yes.
It's fantastic. It's hard to
It's
listen to because he narrates it himself and his voice is a little creepy. But the being in the now, right? Don't take all your projections from the past and let those rule your life. You can dictate your own future. It's a choice, but it's a hard choice. And I think you're right. Just take the most reasonable step right now, and it'll lead to the future. Don't think
that
about every
that
consequence.
ties into the uncertainty aspect of change.
Mhm.
Because you just if you're looking for something to change and that there is going to be uncertainty. Okay, well now I accept there's so one thing is certain, there's going to be uncertainty. So let me not let my past baggage or whatever creep up on me. Let me just be in the moment, experience it. Whatever is happening is happening, and just keep your mindset like straight. I mean, and a big part of this is and this is important to figure out. It's important to figure out why, and because this is so important, you have to build resilience. Like you kind of have to be tough if you're going to look to change something. You
Mhm.
have to upfront decide that there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be good minutes and bad minutes, but when you really zoom out over the course of time, taking steps forward and being resilient in those moments where you're not feeling it is really where the actual strength comes from, because down the road you're going to be confident, you're going to be focused, you're going to know you can do it, you're going to remember, you're going to realize, oh, those small wins add up to big wins, but even the small losses along the way are overridden by the small wins and the big wins. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but the
Yeah.
resilience is the thread I'm trying to point out. Like you got to be resilient.
And you got to start with resiliency as one of your goals, right? Like I know
Yeah,
why I'm starting this. And I think it's like a David Goggins thing, like never quit when it's hard. You should expect it to be hard. You're getting outside of your comfort zone.
right.
You should expect change to cause a whole wide range of emotions, anxiety, denial, fear, approval, greed, whatever. And you should know that it's there. And so his whole thing was only quit when it's easy, because then you'll know you didn't quit because it was hard.
Oh wow, Goggins is like
He's
he's a
crazy.
maniac.
Yeah, he's a maniac. And I can't even hold myself to that standard. I can't
Nobody
imagine
can.
the pain that but you can take little nuggets like that. Like, okay, think about times you quit. You were going to change something about your life. Like maybe I'm gonna eat right and exercise finally, right? And so I can't quit when I'm hungry. That's when it's hard. I need to quit when I'm full. When I've just eaten some boiled chicken and rice, and I'm feeling good about myself. That's the time to say, "Nah, I don't like this feeling." If you quit when you're feeling good, then you know you're quitting for the right reasons. Because I mean, let's face it.
That's right.
Sometimes when you try to introduce change, you're going to find out that wasn't a good idea. And I don't want to get so committed to my path that I don't know when enough is enough. But don't quit when it's hard. I love that philosophy.
I actually haven't heard. I know Dave Goggins well, but I haven't heard that, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's pretty valuable. Like that's even to think about that and get your arms around that is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Um, there's something simple, right? So if change could be simple, there is something kind of simple about it. So like when you unlock, like you step back and unlock like some simplicity in it, you could think to yourself, well, am I flexible? Like, am I flexible enough to even begin to change? Am I so rigid that I can't reach this goal? Am I setting myself up for failure, like to begin with? Am I just gonna like feed this sort of like fulfilling prophecy is what it's called, right? A self-fulfilling prophecy where at the end of the day, I don't believe I can do this, so I'm just gonna sabotage myself. If you're not flexible, if you don't unlock that simple aspect of it, you are going to sabotage yourself. So you got to step back and say it's important to understand that there's going to be new possibilities, things I didn't consider, things I haven't seen. Like it's like all unknown. And if you embrace the unknown with flexibility, it's so much easier
Ah,
when these things start happening to you.
that's brilliant,
The
man.
change just happens.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like a word salad. I almost felt like Kamala Harris, but hopefully it made sense. Sorry.
Don't don't get me started. It's just too fun to make fun of. It's unbelievable. No, I love that idea. You've got to go into it being flexible, knowing that the cool plan that you had what's that Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face.
Can you say that like Mike Tyson? Can you do the Mike? Can you?
The Mike Tyson. Oh no,
No, you can't do it.
I can't do his voice.
Did you ever hear Jamie Foxx do Mike Tyson?
Hey, this is Mike Tyson. Hey, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face. Right.
I digress. Sorry, I took you off track.
Right. Like you need to expect the setbacks, and you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to be flexible around the people that you're with. Everybody seems like they're all in with you. I don't know how many times I've gone on an adventure with people that misrepresented how tough they were, how much cold they could take, how far they could run or paddle.
Until all of a sudden
things change. Yeah. Right. And that happened all the time in the military. You go out on a mission and we've got a perfect plan. And then the guy with the map gets shot. Right. Uh-oh. Now what?
Oh, where do we go?
Well, we had a radio. Now the radio's done. Like, how are we going to do this without a radio? And that's the flexibility. Do we keep going? What's the go, no go? When is enough? And when do you just embrace it as, okay, this is going to be a challenging exercise. We're going to have to do this one hungry or tired or down a few people. Same thing in
mindset
sport.
Is so important. It's like, God, it keeps going back to like up front, just knowing what it is you want to achieve and being ready for those unexpected things to happen and say, I'm just not going to let it stop me. I'm just going to keep pushing through it. And you know what, if you decide that you want to transform your life, like if you decide that you want to make something happen, you realize that along the way, the little failures, the little losses are possibly some of the most valuable things that are going to happen to you. Like that the change and the experience of change in and of itself creates opportunities that wouldn't have been there before if you didn't even try whatever it is you're trying to change.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can almost decide in advance, like every time I hit a wall, how am I going to react when I have a setback? Right. So I want to think about my reaction before it happens, just so that I understand, okay, the first time I hit a wall, I'm going to smile and say, I was expecting that. Right? The first time revenue dips a little bit when I change my entire business plan, I am expecting that it's going to dip. And then there's going to be a go, no go. There's going to be a point at which I've got to either go back to the old way or reinvent myself, or maybe apply a little bit of resilience and flexibility to my existing plan, attack it with a little more vigor. Don't quit so easy, a little more vitality.
I'll tell you something real quick that I've experienced recently, which is I decided I wanted to lose. I take a medication that caused me to gain like 5 pounds. So I decided I wanted to try and lose it, even though it's difficult because what that medication does is cause me to gain a few pounds. So I decided to walk every single day. And I go to the gym like every day, but that doesn't burn as many calories as I need to lose a few pounds. So I decided to walk every single day. And I walked 12 to 15,000 steps every day. No matter what happens, I make sure I get those steps. And even if it's 10 o'clock at night, I get them in. Now it's been a month. I haven't lost a pound. It's come and gone already. But after a month, I didn't lose a pound. But I knew up front, because some of the people that I was studying and that I was watching who were like talking about the best way to do that. And they said up front, it could be a month, 2 or 3 months. Your body's adapting. You might be losing some body fat inside, like around your organs. You can't see it. Don't give up. Just keep walking. Just keep walking. And I will tell you that in the past week, all of a sudden I noticed I'm starting to look a little different and my pants are getting a little looser and I lost a pound. But this is like 6 weeks in already, and I didn't see anything for like the first 5 weeks. But I kept going and kept going. But to your point, I didn't get discouraged. I knew up front there were going to be days where I'm like, oh, this isn't working. But I was ready for it. And I remembered, just keep going. And I'm not going to stop until, if 3 months goes by, I don't lose a pound. Okay, maybe something's wrong here. I'm just eating too much. But I knew up front that I had a plan. And I wasn't going to let like time going by and not seeing the results I want discourage me. And all of a sudden, when I reminded myself of that after about a month, and I just stopped kind of getting annoyed about it, because I was getting annoyed about it, when I stopped thinking about it and just kept doing it, it actually happened.
You're hitting on something. I don't even know if you realize it. Have you ever read that book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
No less than 9 times.
Published in 1937.
I've just, my entire company just read it. I made everybody read it chapter by chapter. We talked about it every Friday morning.
Easily
Yeah, I think I have it.
one of the best books ever written.
Oh, my lights just popped.
But he talks about that in the beginning, the idea of persistence, right? And most people just quit too early.
Persistence.
They want to see immediate. We're such an immediate gratification society
For
nowadays,
sure.
and I think that's actually good news. It allows people that are a little more persistent, that do expect obstacles, that know what they're afraid of, that cage their reaction, that stay tuned in and aware. Like, let's find another way. How am I going to deal with this? Who can I rely on? Maybe I need an accountability partner. But to expect it to go easy is the mistake, and that allows you to quit too early. You did the research. That's why you didn't stop.
Wow. Well, that's true. And that's, that's an important point too. Like, I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, people want to change all different, all different sorts of things. So, I mean, it could be a personal, it could be a relationship, it could be what your weight, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Could be the way you're showing up at work. How you're presenting yourself. But you made the point in the beginning. It is up to you to decide that you're going to make the change. It's up to you to recognize that you need to make the change.
Yep.
But the persistence, man, like you can't quit. Like you have to know up front, like I'm not going to quit until and it can be scary. Like it is very scary because you have to take action. And that's a key because I don't know, I hate to say it, but I just find that most people procrastinate. They don't take the action they need to take. And then they wonder why nothing's changing. Or I mean, the best is when somebody will just expect, everybody will just expect a raise year after year after year after year. And I used to be that guy. Like, well, it's been another year. Give me some more money. Well, what did you do to change? What value are you adding? What's different between this year and last year? Your bills are more expensive. Well, everybody's bills are more expensive. You have to change. You have to evolve. And so what tends to happen, I own a business with employees. What tends to happen is everybody gets fired up to do what they're going to do, and then they don't take action. And then they look at the employer and say, well, what happened? Well, you didn't take action. You didn't change anything. Nothing.
And sometimes they're looking for predictability in the change, right? So if you're changing something like a light bulb, then you can have some predictability, right? First, I unscrew it. I don't have any light. I screw the new one in, and there's the light, right? But if you're changing something really hard, right? You're changing something about yourself. When you've been set in your ways and you're changing,
Habits.
you shouldn't expect the predictability that you would see when you're changing a light bulb. You should know that you're going to have a different reaction to it based on your mood, how tired you are, how well fed you are, the other emotional stuff going on in your life. And so if you're looking for that automatic, easy response, I think it's a mistake. I think you need to expect some unpredictability, expect the unexpected.
Yeah, like actually look for that. And that's where the juicy stuff is, like the unexpected stuff. That's where it all is. Like that
when
is
you
what you want. That's how you know change is happening, because things you're not used to are happening. You feel it, like your body feels it, you're uncomfortable. Then your mind processes the discomfort. And you could at that moment choose to say, oh, wow, this is change happening right now. This is oh, wow, this is what it feels like to be out of my comfort zone. And for something to be going different than I'm used to. And those become new habits.
You're still in your comfort zone. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago.
We did, right? Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like,
right.
That's, by the way, that is taking control. That's in for me to choose to be uncomfortable and to be comfortable in that space. That's me actually taking control. That's how I look at it for myself, because it's actually the opposite is if I want to feel like I'm in control at all times and everything's predictable, which is important in a lot of places, but fine, that's going to keep me in the same exact place. There's not going to be any growth there because everything is so predictable and so tightly held and so in control that there's nothing unexpected is going to happen. And when it does, that's going to freak me out because that's unpredictable versus the other perspective, which is like, okay, I'm changing my marketing plan up. I'm going to start investing X amount of dollars. I'm changing everything. Like I want different results. I'm dreaming big. I want big things to happen. And this is going to take a year. I'll use me as an example. It took 5 years of me spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month before I actually started getting inbound leads off my website. But I knew that investing that money, changing the website, changing the way that I viewed about how long it would take to get results, alleviated disappointment when I didn't get results in year 1, year 2, year 3. I didn't get disappointed. I knew it would take time. I knew it would kick in eventually. But after 4 or 5 years, it kicked in and paid for itself like multiple times over. So
Yeah.
up front, I knew that. And people I know in business would be like, why you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars? What have you gotten from it? I'd be like, nothing. I didn't get anything yet. They'd be like, what are you crazy? I'm like, no. I think I'm the smartest guy in the room because I'm consistent, persistent. What other words can we use? I believe in it. Like I have faith in what's going to happen. We're doing all the right things. We put a plan in place. And if I continue to do it, it will eventually work. And it did. And it still does to this day.
Distance is huge. The middle is supposed to suck. I think of going to the Naval Academy. The whole time I was there, it was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been great ever since. Same thing with marriage, right? I mean,
Right.
people quit in the middle of their marriage. Having kids and getting started in your profession and learning to live with another adult, that's all hard stuff. And that's all a huge change. But you look at those happy old couples and you're like, how are they happy their whole life? No, they were probably miserable in the middle.
Right. Right. It's like you see somebody who's like really, you see some guy who's a billionaire. He's like in his whatever 50s or 60s, and they're like, wow, guy's a billionaire. Well, you didn't see the other 30 years of what that guy had to go through to become a billionaire.
Right. You
A lot
can't
of
have
change.
you're not willing to do what he was willing to do. You
Right.
weren't willing to. He didn't quit, right? They're probably
Right.
maybe he got lucky along the way. You don't know. A little bit of luck, but I guarantee you he lost. He got a little unlucky along the way too.
You just said something that's such a perfect segue because I had this on my mind. You can't forget to celebrate the success, right? So you're doing all this work along the way, and you're going to have little successes, and it's that reminder that the commitment and the discipline and the persistence to the change that you're trying to put in place, that you do get signs from the universe. I mean, there's just signs that oh, something's happening. Oh, this is working. It's a success. Little successes, you have to pay attention for them because that's going to build the confidence to keep you going.
Yeah.
That's why I lost my 1 pound after 6 weeks. I got news for you. I'm going home walking tonight.
That's always been hard for me celebrating my successes because
Why?
maybe because I feel like I got lucky. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome going on, and I feel like I better keep going, or they're going to figure out I just got lucky and
Fake it till you make it.
Well, but I gotta. It's funny because I talk about it all the time, but to embrace it, I think you're right. You have to celebrate the
You have to
success.
celebrate the success.
And I'll tell you, I talk to my fiance about this all the time. Like, you got to help me remember.
Is that recent?
Yeah, November.
Congratulations. I don't remember you referring to her as your fiance. I just remember other words.
It's a tough word to say. I'm not sure I can spell it. I don't know where the little dash goes, right? So, but I like fiance better than wife, right? Because I have a little PTSD from the first thing. But yeah, I could call her my fiance forever.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You could keep it that way. You could just kind of keep it at arm's length. And I'm busy. Let's wedding. What wedding? We've been there, done that. We're too old for this stuff. Let's just enjoy life.
Yeah, well, that's what I like about it, right? We're enjoying our life. She doesn't put any weird pressure on me, and I love her more than girlfriend. And matter of fact, I love her more than wife. So fiance might be the trick. That's
Ooh.
when you're most in love, right?
Well, that's a success you can celebrate. And you know what? It doesn't matter how small the success is, right? You got to celebrate it. And if that means you got to get married, you got to get married, man.
Yeah, got to do it.
You got to do it. Timmy, I think that we always try to keep this to a half hour, and we try to deliver a lot of value. But I mean, we could talk about this for an hour.
We've gone long twice, though. This is the closest.
Yeah, it's actually a half hour.
Perfect.
I think, excuse me. I think that kind of puts what's the expression? Puts a bow on it. I mean, talking about celebrating your successes. So if you decide that you want to change something, make the decision, put a plan together. I'm trying to summarize. Feel free to jump in. Put a plan together. Get behind that plan. Know you're going to have tough times. Know up front you got to find that resilience and some toughness and be persistent and don't give up. And when you're hitting that valley, because it's going to be ups and downs. And just keep your eye on the little signals that tell you that good things are happening, that you're making progress. Like
monitor your progress. I think that's huge. How do you know when you're off to a good start? You shouldn't expect it to be a linear thing where it's going to improve incrementally every single day. It's going to go through.
It's going to go like this.
Yeah.
And
then it's going to come, and then maybe even get an accountability partner, like somebody like Matt to talk to, just because, all right, I'm having a little anxiety with this. Somebody to encourage you, not should all over you and tell you what you should do to fix it, but just be like, hey, dude,
I
hang in
love
there.
when you say that.
You
This is my favorite thing I've ever gotten from you. I use it all the time. Stop shooting on me. People are like, what? Should stop shooting on me. You should have
yeah,
done this.
totally legal. Yeah.
I'm the worst one all day long. I'm talking to people that were like, you should have called this guy. You shouldn't have sent that email out before you should. And then I catch myself doing it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm shooting on everybody all day. Let's do something. I'm not sure if we usually do this, but we should make sure we do this every time that we're together on these lives. You are very successful in the business that you're in, and that is, I met you because you're doing Sandler. You're a Sandler sales coach. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but that's how I came to know you, because I got involved in the Sandler sales training, which is phenomenal. But I ended up working with you directly, and I think I just gave you some. Well, I ended up working with you directly, and we discovered that we hit it off. We both have like tons of experience in a wide variety of places, but you're also a coach, a business coach. So if anybody who's ever watching one of these ever wants to reach out to you, I think we should tell them how to reach you. You should tell them.
The easiest way is Tim.Goring@Sandler is too hard, but Making Luck will get you there. MakingLuck@yahoo.com was my original email. Still the easiest way to find me. Everybody knows how to spell making, and everybody knows how to spell luck. And it's just Making Luck as if it was all one word, right? Or Tim.Goring@Sandler.com, but that's a little more difficult to spell, right? So both of those will get you there.
I'm going to make you one of these. Ready? Watch the screen. Watch. See that bad boy?
Looky there. Looky there.
I'm going to make you one of these for next time.
Please do. Yeah. Well, that way I could do Tim.Goring@Sandler.com.
Yeah. And we could put your phone number on there. We don't do this because we're trying to get business, but at the end of the day, we are putting value out and we love doing this. But if just people that are watching that may actually decide they want to work with us. And so, we might as well let them know what we do. So I recommend you highly. I use you. I work with you in a lot of different ways, and it's been really awesome. I own a company that does cybersecurity, cloud, and IT services, and the people that we work with really tell us that there's a tremendous amount of difference in people in security and confidence that they have in their IT and budgets. And so if you need something, let me know. And with that, I'm going to stop the shameless plugs and thank you for doing this.
Question. When they shot down that Chinese balloon, was it in your cloud or just somebody else's cloud?
The sad thing about that, now they're saying the Chinese balloon had American writing on it. So they must have bought it from us.
I heard that very early. Since when we just shoot down stuff when we don't know if it's got anything in it?
I'm going to give you a theory that, so I this isn't my theory, but when I heard it, I'm like, you watch movies that talk about how the tail wags the dog sometimes. And we know this stuff happens and this crazy spin happens, right? So there's a guy that I was watching who, you saw this thing in Ohio with the train that crashed and this disaster and the people that are suffering there. It's crazy, the suffering that these people are going through in the city in Ohio. I hadn't heard about it. It wasn't even really on the news.
No.
I discovered it because I don't really watch the news much, and I just go on YouTube and I watch a lot of just people that are putting out content. And I stumbled on it. I started watching it. And this one gentleman I'm watching says, don't you think it's odd that all of a sudden, at the exact same time to the day, that train basically nuclear, it was like a nuclear bomb hit that place with the chemicals. The same day is the same day that all the stories about the balloons came out. And every day there were more balloons coming out. And that became the headline rather than the fact that our government wasn't putting anybody on the ground to help these people out there. And now 2 weeks later, this isn't political, it's just a fact. Yesterday, Trump goes out there, it does a news conference, apparently sent out tractor trailer loads of water and a bunch of other stuff. And lo and behold, now all of a sudden who is it? FEMA. All of a sudden, FEMA and everybody else, all of a sudden now they're out there.
Yeah.
So that balloon thing, which turned out to be nothing.
Yeah.
One of the balloons was like a hobby club or something. It was a fact.
That's the thing, like they're guessing.
The government not know that. Come on.
Don't get me started on conspiracy theories, Matt.
I don't think it's a conspiracy.
Well, what I'm saying is remember, fear is a big component.
The show just changed this entire conversation. This is really
there are a lot of sick people because of what really happened in Pennsylvania, but
Extremely
everybody
sick.
else is paralyzed by fear, and that
Yeah.
can be worse, right? Stress is not bad for you. The belief that stress is bad for you is bad for you. That's a great TED talk.
It's like the blood test I was telling you about before. It wasn't the blood test that was bad. It was the fear of me passing
You
out
were
that caused
working
me to
on
actually
that.
almost pass out.
Yeah, you were doing that. You had yourself wound up.
I got myself wound up. So I hope that that they help those people, and I hope that it gets more attention because it did not get the attention it should have gotten.
Yeah.
And these people are really sick. Fish are
Let's
dying,
do a
animals are
podcast
dying.
on fear, Matt. I like that idea. Fighting
What's that?
fear. What can you
Fighting
do?
fear.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a ton of ideas about it.
Do you remember that scene in what was the movie that was with Julia Roberts where she Erin Brockovich? You remember
Mm.
Erin Brockovich where she played the part of it was a true story. There was some kind of chemical contamination in the ground. Do you remember this movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at one point when she's sitting at the table with the lawyers and they're negotiating and they offered $1 million or something, she looks at them and she has a bottle of water on the table and she goes, well, this is water from the ground that you say isn't contaminated. Why don't you take a sip? And they all sat back like, no. And that's what they should do with these people right now that are saying everything's fine. When you look at the water and you see dead fish floating, you know what? Here, it's fine. Why don't you take a sip of the water? All of a sudden, you see nobody take a sip of that water.
Did you see the Netflix special White Noise? By the way, this is real. We saw it. We saw it. My fiance and I watched it less than a month ago. It was a Netflix special about a train that crashed or a chemical problem in the air that paralyzed a town. And some of the extras were from this town in Ohio.
Oh, I saw the report on that. It actually the movie took place in that town, I think.
Yeah, and it was all satire. Yeah, they took. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's a term for that, and it's they call it psyops, but it's like psychological operations where they start to put things out in movies that are like COVID. I mean, there was a movie that came out 5 years before that or something called Contagion or something. It was literally the same exact thing. I watched it. I'm like, oh my god, the news reports on CNN look identical. So who knows if it's real or not? I mean, but it's wow, is that an odd coincidence that those movies are identical?
No, I don't believe in coincidences.
No,
I think you're right. I think they're
anybody that was watching us is gone now.
Yeah, we're scaring them away. Let's quit before we're behind.
But this is the most interesting part of the whole conversation. I bet you those people weren't expecting their life to change like that.
No,
talking about change. I mean,
fair enough.
It's a shame. So Timmy, we're gonna do this again next week.
I look forward to it.
This is awesome. I have so much fun doing this. All right, listen, thank you for doing this again. Next week we'll pick a cool topic. We'll make it fun. We'll talk about something controversial. Maybe we'll get it spicy.
Fair. I like it. Bring it on.
All right, buddy. I'm going to stop the live broadcast, but don't hang up on me. I'm going to still talk to you.
Okay.
All right, everybody who watched, thank you. I know I saw Jen was in there making comments the whole time. Jen's awesome. She was on my show, and I want to thank her for commenting and giving me an idea for the kickoff of the show, asking me who's the expert. All right, Timmy.
All righty. Thank you, Matt. Take care.